Welcome to Mr. Chalk's Revision Tips. In this video we will look at the advantages of renewable energy, the disadvantages of renewable energy and types of renewable energy. Renewable energy is energy that is collected from renewable resources which are naturally replenished. The advantages of renewable energy is that they won't run out. The maintenance requirements once they're up and running are relatively low. They can save money, and there are lots of health benefits because we're not burning fossil fuels. The disadvantages is that there can be a high setup cost. Some forms are intermittent, so for instance wind power relies on it being windy. There can be storage capacities, so the electricity generated can't be stored, and there can be geographical limitations, so for instance if you've got geothermal energy it can only be generated somewhere where you've got volcanic rocks under the ground. And remember that coal power made fossil fuels, they are not renewable because at some point they will run out. Wind power describes the process in which we're generating electricity from the wind. It relies on the principle of wind going and turning blades of a turbine. Those turning blades will then go and spin a generator which will create electricity. Tidal power relies, so this is energy in the gravitational store of a body of water held above the sea level, which can then be allowed or used to run down pipes to go and turn a turbine. So at high tide the water is trapped behind a tidal barrage. That is then shut. As the tide goes out you get a body of water forming behind that tidal barrage, which then can be allowed out to run over a turbine which can turn a generator which generates electricity. So if we look at this question, so discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a plan to build thousands of offshore wind turbines around Britain. Some of the advantages might be that there are low running costs. The energy is essentially free. There is no gas emissions. It means that we'll be less dependent on fossil fuels and no land is used up. However, the disadvantages might be things like it's unreliable because it relies on it being windy. It can be a hazard to birds. You could talk about visual pollution or noise pollution. Because it's offshore you could talk about difficulties linking it up to the national grid and the fact that there will be a large initial cost at setting them up, so they'll be expensive to build. Hydroelectricity has been used for a very long time and relies on moving water, spinning a turbine which spins a generator. So water is held behind a dam in a lake or a reservoir high up. The rivers or rainfall fill that reservoir. When energy is needed, the water is allowed to run downstream through a series of pipes. As the water runs through the pipes, it spins turbines that link to generators. The generators will generate the electricity, and at times when less electricity is needed, the water can be pumped back up to the top of the hill or mountain where it can be released back down at some later date. Hydroelectric systems generate electricity using energy of falling water. A pumped storage hydroelectric system can be used as a way of storing energy for the future. Explain how. Some of the things that you might want to put the fact that water is pumped or moved up to a reservoir higher up and can be released later. Several types of rock contain radioactive substances. Radioactive decay of these substances releases heat, which warms the rocks around it. In volcanic areas, the rocks may be used to heat water so that it rises up to the surface as steam. This steam that rises up to the surface can be used to turn a turbine, which can be used to turn a generator, which generates electricity. Solar power energy can be used in two ways. Either we can have black solar panels on a roof where we use heat from the sun to heat water, or we can have photovoltaic solar cells which directly convert energy from the sun into electricity. Iceland is a country that generates most of its electricity using geothermal power sources. Complete the following sentences to describe how some geothermal power stations work. So, cold is pumped down into the ground. So cold water is pumped down and is by the rocks and is boiled by the rocks. It returns to the surface as steam. The steam is used to turn a turbine. A turbine drives what to produce electricity. So it drives a generator to produce electricity.
Thanks for watching.